here. It is time for another G.I. Joe toy review. Today is a viewer request. This comes from Gaz. He requested to see the Crimson Attack Tank. And I told him I was going to save it until July for my anniversary, but then I got to looking around at all my toys and I thought, you know what, I have plenty of new ones to review for that month. So why not? Let's get this attack tank out there and reviewed. So Gaz, here you go. The Crimson Attack Tank. This is not complete. I'm missing the tiny gun that goes up onto the turret where the vehicle operator will sit or stand. That gun sells for, I didn't see any today, but when I looked for it before in the past, that thing would sell for anywhere from $199 to $299 just for a tiny piece of plastic. And you know what I say about that. It's ridiculous. That person is obviously a Scrooge, in my opinion. Yes, it is a rarer vehicle. It came out in '85. It was only on the shelves from '86. So it was there for 1 year. It was a Sears exclusive. It sold, believe it or not, for $11.99, when just 3 years prior, the Mobat, which this is modeled exactly after, it's just molded in black and red plastic. The Mobat sold for $19.99. Big difference. I mean, we're looking at an $8 difference. Why is it cheaper? I have a few theories. One, they were trying to recover their manufacturer costs, which they did with the sale of the Mobat, because the Mobat was around for a long time. So that brought the cost down. And two, it didn't come with an action figure, when the Mobat did come with an action figure and exclusive. So that would raise the price up just a little bit more, because you have to pay for the cost of the action figure. So the Crimson Attack Tank was only $11.99. Let me pull up some pictures for you for that. The box is really cool. I mean, just look at that box. It has a Crimson Guard up in the turret directing the tank where to go. This was motorized. This example that I have does not work. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. It is a cool toy to play with. I do have one Mobat that works, and I had demonstrated that with in a quick look that I did about a year ago with the Mobat versus the Mylar tank. The Mylar was obviously faster, and the Mobat was, you know, it was slower, but it had a feature to where you would turn the gun turret and it would move in that direction. And I'll explain that when I review this. I'm going to the details of it. But I did not have this as a kid. I didn't know anybody that had it. And frankly, I didn't know about it until I really started seriously getting back into collecting. And HCC told me about yojo.com. And I looked it up and I was like, whoa, what is this tank? I've never seen it before. And, you know, it goes, how could I? How would I? I didn't go to the mall that much during my younger years. You know, it wasn't until I was a teenager when I started going to the mall. So I would have missed the Mobat during that time. And I know John and I only went to the mall maybe twice together with his mother. So Sears was not the place that we looked. It was always the toy store at the mall, Toys by Roy, or the one across the street, which was Lionel Play World. It was a sister store to Children's Palace for everybody in the Midwest and the East Coast. And I did shop at Children's Palace when I was younger too, when I lived in Ohio. So, yeah, the Crimson Attack Tank would have been easily missed even by John. So, I have a picture of John, actually. I've been looking all over for this. This is what I looked like when I had hair. That was me with my prom date, Tammy. I was 17 in that picture. Oh, let's see if I can find John. Better picture of me with hair. Taken at the Grand Canyon when I was 16. Oh, okay. Here we go. You can see that John is right here. It's the kid in camouflage. This is up at scout camp. I can't remember this dude's name in blonde hair. That's not me. So yeah, there's John. That's what my buddy looked like. Good kid all around. I obviously miss him. I talk about him a lot. So I haven't given up my search on him yet. I doubt I ever will. So I thought I'd share those pictures with you. I was looking for those to share them. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and look at this Crimson Attack Tank. Gaz, thank you very much for this suggestion. I'm happy to do it. So if there are any other viewer requests, yes, I will be more than happy to review those if I have the toy. Pardon me, there was a request that came up just recently for me to review the radio, that little AM radio, but that request came up under the radio review. So if you did make that request, I'm sorry I didn't write down your name, your handle I should say. When you put out that request, that was the review of the radio. So go ahead and look at that if you hadn't done so already. So here we go, guys. Let's go ahead and look at this beautiful piece of military equipment. If I could get the camera to pause. All right, here it is, the Crimson Attack Tank. This is a beautiful looking piece of equipment, especially in black and red. Those colors always seem to go together really well. They're popular colors for people to use. You can see that it's missing the tiny gun up here at the turret. Well, I pulled this one off of my Mobat so you could see it looks just like this, except for it being in red. So that piece is easily lost and or broken. It's made out of a soft piece of plastic. Let's go ahead and look at the front of the vehicle. You can see how really neat it is. Of course, it has the Cobra sigil up here. And it says Bergdahl jammer system. So I guess it would jam like a targeting system. This is supposed to be night vision up here. The turret itself does spin around 360. You can see Cobra sigil there and here on the side. The barrel does go up and down, and it also collapses inside the tank. The command seat right here at the top turns side to side. That's the direction that you would want the tank to go in. That's how you operated it. You would turn it to the right to make it go right, turn it to the left to make it turn left. To turn it on, you'd slide it forward. That would move it forward. And push it back to make it go in reverse. Down here you could see the bogies, these wheels. When I bought this, it was missing 3 of them because the black posts that they were on broke off. So I bought a pack, their original parts, but somebody had taken the tank apart and sold the parts. And I'll cover that more in Byrons Gripes. But so I bought those parts and replaced the bogies and the posts. It comes on these rubber treads. The first release of the Mobat treads, they did not have these little holes in it. And those holes, without the holes, when the tank would turn on the carpet, the tread would slip off. So they quickly changed it, put this gear type bogie on the back to where the treads would stay on with those little red posts. You can see that's how they sealed the tread together. They melted it, or heat sealed it. It is missing its red battery cover. I got this tank for a very, very cheap price considering what they're being sold for. Because it was missing the wheels and the battery cover, so I haggled with the seller and got it for a considerably lower price than what he was asking. At first I felt bad. It's like, well, this guy was wanting to sell it for $199, but I talked him down to X amount of dollars. And I thought if he didn't want to sell it, he wouldn't have sold it to me, so I stopped feeling bad. Version 12, or V12 I should say, turbo sticker there. V12, I guess, turbo engine. On the back it has this red panel with a tow hook. Kind of rare to find a tow hook on a Cobra vehicle, but this was originally G.I. Joe. So I guess this was like a precursor to Tiger Force and Python Patrol, using captured weapons and turn it into their own. So here on the top, you could see a hatch. That would be the hatch that the tank crew would go in. What could I say? With the Sherman tank in World War II, the crew would be like 4 people. You had the tank commander, who sat up in the top part of the tank. Then you had the 2 gunners that would be down here, and like the crew chief, who usually sat back here, and he was the main gunner. So each one would operate in their capacity. So looking more at the top here, you can see there's a turbine up here to cool the engine. I guess this is like a coolant system of some sort, or just a grated cover to let the engine breathe a little bit. Down here you could see some tools. A shovel, looks like some pliers, a funnel, then a sculpted on tow cable, some more hatches. I mean, they did a very good job here. With the sculpting. It's a cool toy, all in all. I just wish this one worked, but that's okay. I mean, the little motor's burned up because when the batteries died, what did the kids do? They forced it to move. They pushed it along, and that burned up the motors quite a bit. I would have done the same thing if I were little, pushing it, forcing it to move. But my parents would have stopped me. Hey, you're going to burn up the motor. So I have to attribute my care of toys to them. They saw me playing rough, they'd tell me not to. They'd say, if you break it, you're not getting a new one. So I have to thank them for taking such great care of teaching me to take such great care of my toys, and that's why I have a lot of them today. So yeah, I would not have pushed my Mobat on the carpet. Obviously, I talked about it before, but I have two Mobats, and one, the motor doesn't work, and the other that I demonstrated, the motor does work on that one. So that was a very nice example of that. Somebody took good care of it. So I'm still kind of baffled at the price with this being $11.99. Why? Because today those prices are insane. It was a Sears exclusive, is only out for a year. Not many people bought them, I'm assuming. So the Sears exclusives do fetch a very high price on the aftermarket, just like my red, my SMS tank, the red HISS tank and missile system that Jim donated to this channel. I have that in my display case. If you want to look at my review from or just a quick video from Tuesday, it showed that I had it displayed in the case along with the C.A.T tank, and that's where Gaz saw it and requested this review. So this tank stands for C.A.T, C.A.T, Crimson Attack Tank. It came out in '85, of course, and it was for the Crimson Guard. If you see on the box, like I mentioned, it shows the Crimson Guard up in the turret. So this was the vehicle for the Crimson Guard to use, and Tomax and Zaymont to be in charge of their army, because when they joined Cobra, they brought the Crimson Guard with them. A bunch of accountants in uniform, and that would make sense because Tomax and Zaymont own extensive enterprises. They are investors, bankers, so they would have their own group of accountants working underneath them in Enterprise City. So that's why they have their own army. They brought their people with them. But knowing the Crimson Guard and their file card, it says they are too precious to be wasted on the battlefield, but it shows them in a tank in the middle of battle. And in the cartoon, they were used as regular warriors in some scenes. And if I could find that cartoon, there was one where it showed, this was about as violent as G.I. Joe got. There was a cave-in and a Crimson Guard was killed. And it shows Cobra Commander walking over his body, and when he stepped on its back, the Crimson Guard arched up, and then his head fell down. His body fell back down, and his head hit a rock, and you could hear a little clink from his mask, his metal mask on his helmet. So I thought, wow, that's pretty violent for this cartoon, but I have not been able to find it yet. This didn't make any comic book or cartoon appearances, and it was not sold directly in the stores. I think they would have sold more if they would have been advertised, and I don't recall seeing any ads for it. I couldn't find anything on YouTube advertising this, so because it was a Sears exclusive, and that was up to Sears to sell these. So it was really quite interesting. I do have it, advertisement for it here in the '85 Sears, so let me look that up. I just now thought of this. Okay, well, there's a discrepancy in price. Yojo.com is saying that it was $11.99, but the Sears Wish Book is advertising it for $29.99. And here it is. There's the picture of it. Of course, it has the USS flag. And the flag was $159.99. That was a lot of money. Look at that. I love these old pictures. You can see some more stuff in there. The Sky Striker was being sold even then. It had been 3 years for the Sky Striker, 1 year for this one right here. I don't know why the name is eluding me. So yeah, you can see the new stuff that was released, but pretty cool. There's his tank and the SMS and the Crimson Attack tank. So I bought this a long time ago, and I'm glad I thought of it. This 1985 Sears Wish Book. These were like gold in my household. When these came in, we fought over it. My parents would intentionally go to Sears at Christmas. They would pay $2 for it, and we would sit there and just rummage through this. It got a lot of love in our family. We had marked what we wanted, and of course, hardly ever got what we marked, but it was still fun looking through it. So that's a big advertisement for their Crimson Attack tank. Thank you for reminding me about that. All right, so let's get into my favorite segment, Byrons Gripes. There are a lot of parts being sold, and that kind of aggravates me in a way, that they take something this nice and this valuable, tear it apart, and sell the parts. Well, I'm not going to list the parts because there were so many of them. But if it weren't for people doing that, we wouldn't be able to buy the parts for our vehicles. Like my Tiger Rat. The Rattler, that's the airplane I was thinking of. The Tiger Rat, I bought just a frame that was 75% complete, so I had to buy extra parts for it. I wouldn't have been able to do that if people didn't take these parts and resell them. So it's bittersweet for me. So if you're looking for this on the aftermarket, all I have to say is, do you want to pay your rent or mortgage and your other bills, or do you want this toy? Like I said, I got this one because it was incomplete. Parts of it were broken, literally broken. I had to glue stuff back on. So I got it incredibly cheap. I would say a fraction of what these are being sold for. And you guys know how much of a tightwad I am. So for those of you just joining me, I do Byron's Gripes not to pick on eBay nor its sellers. I only quote the fixed prices. I don't do the auction prices because they are fluid. They change, they go up. So I won't do the auction prices. Something this valuable, you might be better off winning it in an auction because it is so high as a fixed price and people normally don't haggle with them. So you might get it cheaper in an auction. So I don't pick on eBay or its sellers. I don't do that. It's just for entertainment and to give you guys an idea of what is being sold out there and for how much. So there are 2 of them. Well, actually there's several, 4 of them being sold complete. One is, the lowest price is $3.99 for that complete. None of them are working. It was not listed in any of the descriptions that the motor still works. Some people put tested, but that is such a loose term. It's tested. Yeah, it means they put batteries in it, see if it turned on or not. So you don't know what you're getting. I fell victim to tested, and thought, hey, it works. So one of the Mobats I bought, I put the batteries in. It didn't work. I tested it. So when it says tested, please ask questions. So the first price is $399 and it goes to $425. Then $499.99. Then there's another one for $499. Yeah, that's it. And the rest are parts. Like the turret, I started writing it down, but just the turret and the gun, $29.99 for that. And that's pretty good. I mean, if you need that part, you know, 30 bucks, I would pay for that all day. But people know what they're sitting on here, and they don't want to haggle much with the price. But I'm still kicking myself in the hind end for it. This is about 2 years ago. I was working with a lady on the line for this. Hers was complete and it worked. She wouldn't go lower than $65. And I thought that was a little too expensive. Then the prices on these just shot up. They got insane. And shortly after that, so I still kicked myself in the butt for it. I paid a little bit, slightly more than that for this. I usually don't say what I pay for stuff. But I had saved for something. I actually had saved to buy several action figures, and I got this for a decent price. So, yeah, 65 bucks for something that worked and complete. Deals like that just don't come along. And I had to pass up on a terror drone one time that I saw at a thrift store. It was complete for $50. I did not have $50 at that time. This was 4 years ago now. Didn't have 50 bucks on me, so I had to pass up on it. But I did call a friend that ran down and bought it. So I would have had a complete terror drone. Very, very sad. But things like that pop up. So hit your thrift shops. I buy a lot of my Joes from thrift stores. So there you go, guys. There's the review of the Crimson Attack tank. Thought I'd extend it a little bit just by sharing personal experiences. So if you guys are looking for it, there it is. There are the prices. Of course, shop your local vintage toy stores if you have them in your area. That's not only supporting a small business, and right now they're hurting. They're hurting pretty bad. A lot of states are starting to open up a little bit, so these small businesses really do need us to keep them going. There were a few family-owned restaurants right here in my town that had to close because of the COVID crisis. And that just broke my heart, because he's been around for this city. Actually, it's not a city, it's a town. We only have 1,200 people. Was built back in the 60s. It was created back in the 60s as the first retirement community in the United States. It's called Youngtown. You know, old folks come here, call it Youngtown, make it seem young, vibrant, hip. Now it's, you know, families, you know, because across the street, literally across the street, a bigger community, proper English, opened up. It's called Sun City. And a lot of elderly moved over there. I still have elderly people in my neighborhood, but that's where most of the retirees, the pensioners, moved to. So Youngtown still had a lot of the original family businesses going, and some of them closed down, unfortunately, because they couldn't afford to keep it going. So I support our local toy shops. Of course I do, but local businesses keeps money in your state as well, the tax dollars. So there you go, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again, guys, for this suggestion. I was more than happy to do this. It's a great toy. It's just beautiful. I mean, the black and red, really flashy. Cobra, of course, is flamboyant, but I do recommend that you guys get this. It displays well. It looks beautiful. I can't say enough good about it. So anyway, I'll go ahead and end this video. Stay tuned next week for another G.I. Joe toy review. As always, remember, be kind to people, especially right now. There's a lot of tension going on in the country, so being kind will really help cheer people up. As well, especially be kind to animals. You know, they know nothing but unconditional love. You know, my cats and my dog. So, yeah, I just love animals. So anyway, stay tuned next Tuesday for another G.I. Joe toy review. This is Joe Motion Videos 82 signing off. Remember, wash your hands, wear your masks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.